Hey there, I'm Eric Simons. I'm the co-founder and CEO of StackBlitz. And for those of you who might not have heard of StackBlitz before, StackBlitz is a web-based IDE that allows you to run full-stack JavaScript toolchains entirely inside of your browser tab. And we've been able to do this because we actually invented a technology called Web Container. We launched it at Google I/O last year. And Web Container is a instant booting WebAssembly-based micro operating system that actually runs inside of your browser tab, which is what makes this experience so fast and really feel like magic. And we built all of this because our mission at StackBlitz is to make web development instant. And specifically, we wanted to solve the problem of having to go to your local environment and context switch when you want to start prototyping a new idea or try out a library that you just found, or even doing bug reproductions on your local machine. It really takes a lot of time and kind of painful to set these environments up and context switch what you were working on. And instead, StackBlitz has turned this into an instant one-click process entirely inside of your browser. So over the past couple of years, StackBlitz has become pretty popular for these different lightweight use cases. In the open source world, it's used by many for bug reproductions and beautiful interactive documentation to try out the libraries. And it's also been adopted by some of the world's largest companies for rapidly prototyping the next great ideas they want to ship. And so we've got a whole bunch of developers using StackBlitz now. And a couple of years ago, we realized that there's still one place where this context switching problem is still rampant. And that's when you're writing production code in your local environments. And that's not to say like when you're building a feature every 1 to 3 weeks or whatever have you in your local environment, tools like Vite have made that process very fast for your development cycle. But the problem comes in when your PM hits you up and says, hey, we've got an urgent bug that needs to get fixed. Can you make a PR right now? Or a coworker hits you up and says, hey, I need you to review this pull request and run it locally to verify it works so we can get this merged in. Because our local dev environments today are like single burner stoves. I have to pop off what I was doing, stash my changes, pull this thing down, install, etc. It's like this whole nightmare of a process. And so we thought, wouldn't it be great if we could take that same instant booting experience in your browser tab and brought that to these production workflow use cases? Because really the problem here is that we ideally would just be able to like take your exact local environment and then instantly clone it. So you can go and create a PR review a PR, and then just throw that out so you can get back to your main feature development on local. But if you're going to do that, that means we got to take the entire power of your local environment and make it something that can boot instantly. It's got to be actually a lot better than your local machine. It's got to be a lot faster to spin up than you could even do on your own local machine. And this is a huge challenge. Because we also don't want to lose what is great about local environments. There's no latency because it's entirely on your computer. It works offline. You don't have to pay by the minute to use it. So if you look at these other cloud IDE things over the past 10, 15 years, they're worse than local in every way for those reasons. You can't work offline. They're incredibly slow. They're even slower than local in most cases, etc. So we're going to need to run this inside of your browser tab. So it's using your CPU, your memory, and ideally, it's got to actually be better. It's got to be faster. There needs to be less latency than your own local host. And that is a tall order. Because if we kind of break down, okay, what's in your local environment that we need to run in this browser tab? Well, we've got VS Code, the desktop version of VS Code with all the extensions you know and love, right? We are going to need Node.js. That's how all these tool chains are powered. Okay, so we can do that. We also need whatever package manager this project needs, PnPm, Yarn, or NPM. It's got to run. We're going to need Git, like the Git CLI, actually mount that Git repo, and of course, an actual operating system as well. And so kind of the first problem is that all of that combined is a couple hundred megabytes at a minimum. So to download that is going to take minutes. But then once you actually execute that, you still need to actually clone whatever repo you're trying to work on, then install all the dependencies. And that takes a long time on local even as well. And so we're going to need to cut down the size of what we're sending down to the browser, from a couple hundred megabytes to, 10 to 15 megabytes if we want this to load in, a second or two. And then for actually cloning and installing dependencies, this needs to be substantially faster than how your local machine can do it. And not just by, 2x or something. This is going to need to be like 10x faster. And so when we started working on this 3 years ago, we honestly didn't know if this was going to be possible to do. We didn't, we thought maybe this might just be an engineering pipe dream or something. But it's turned out to be a bit of an engineering marvel. And the way it completely changes your development workflow is profound. You can seamlessly switch between creating and reviewing pull requests and closing issues, and in a way that just wasn't possible before, and just keeps you in your flow state with your code. And today our team is incredibly excited to announce for the first time ever StackBlitz Codeflow. So what is StackBlitz Codeflow? It is a seamless one-click integration with GitHub that gives you instant environments on every pull request to create pull requests on repos, to close out issues and actually run reproductions without having to context switch in your local environment. And it really works like a dream. I could keep talking about it, but I think that a demo is probably the best way to actually see this thing in action. And so the demo I'm actually going to do is not really a demo at all. I'm actually on the hook here to ship some final things before ViteConf today for our announcement. One of those is a ticket, a Codeflow themed ticket on the viteconf.org website. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up my screen here so we can all take a look at this. So on the ViteConf website, if you remember grabbing your ticket, you could actually customize it with your favorite framework, etc. And so mine is StackBlitz, but we want to add a Codeflow logo down here. So you click on that logo, it'll turn into this beautiful card, maybe like pink with like the Codeflow logo up here. And the way I've been building the site, to start at least, has been in my local environment. And so let me pull up that. And I forgot, I've been working on a big feature. I've got a whole bunch of changes that I made. I'd have to like stash my changes and do that whole dance. Honestly, the fastest way to do this would actually, let me just go to the GitHub repo for this. And what's super handy is on the README for this, there's now this like really slick start a new PR button. So if we actually just go ahead and click that, it's going to basically create this instant copy of my local environment, but inside of this browser tab. Like it's got like the same theme, it's got the same extensions, and it's already cloned to install the dependencies, and the dev server is already running that fast. We're talking about a couple seconds. This is like a full stack application, right? This is, Nux 3. This is, running real backend code in here. So let me, that was a lot to take in. Let me break down exactly what just happened there. When I'm going to hit the refresh button here, what's going to happen? It's going to strip down the operating system. It's going to start a brand new operating system, git clone, run the install process, boot Node.js, boot your dev server, actually run it inside your browser tab, and mount the desktop version of VS Code around it. So you have all of your extensions. And it's hard to believe that this is all running in my browser and not on the server, but it really is. And that means if I disconnect my internet, I can actually go ahead and keep refreshing, and it'll keep on working. I can keep coding and go to my terminal and type commands. So I'll turn this back on, but pretty amazing. So let's get to work. Enough marveling at this thing. I need to add the Codeflow ticket. So let me go. Actually, I'm going to open up this in a new window. Let me pull that over here, so we can do our kind of true web development. That means I can run and debug this in a completely separate window. And I'm going to have this. Make that a little smaller. I need to add the ticket. So a couple things. It's really not too hard, I think, for us to do this. I need to get the Codeflow logo, which I believe I have, just so happen to have pulled up here. And all I need to do is just drag and drop this into that projects folder, and bada bing, bada boom, we got the logo. All right. The other two files I need to edit are the conference file. So I need to actually scroll down here, and I need to add a Codeflow kind of branding theme here. So I'm just going to take pings and add Codeflow. StackBlitz.com/Codeflow. And for the color, I believe there's FF003, I want to say, but we'll find out in a second. I believe, because I don't think that's showing up yet. So I think there's one other file we got to edit here. We just need to add Codeflow as one of these, and voila, you can actually see the Codeflow logo. Oh wow, look at that. That is beautiful. What a beautiful looking ticket. All right. Wow. All right. Yeah. Simple PR. Yeah. Really, really not too bad to add this in. So yeah, I think this thing looks good to go to me. It's looking beautiful. Let's open up a pull request. I'm gonna go over the source control panel, and I'll make a branch called Codeflow ticket. Hit enter. All right. And I can go ahead and make a commit, add Codeflow ticket. It's gonna go ahead and commit and push that. And I just click open new PR. I'm gonna say add Codeflow ticket. And for the description, I think people will dig it. I'm going to go ahead and assign Tomek to this. And just click create pull request. All right, and we are good to go. So I'm going to go ahead and shoot Tomek a message on Slack here to let him know it's time to review this.
Hey, so I've been working on a tricky CSS issue for the ViteConf website, and I've noticed Eric has just pinged me asking for a review of his PR. I really want to see it running in a coding environment, but I don't want to deal with stashing all my current work just for that. Well, that's what Codeflow is for. So let's use it. The Codeflow app bot has already prepared a link for me. And would you look at this beautiful inviting button? Let's click it and see what happens. Okay, my environment is launched. I have it set up with the same purple pink theme. I have my local, so that's great. Oh, and the project is already live as well. Let's rearrange the windows a little bit and see what we're looking at. The code looks good, but I want to see that new icon in the actual app. Thankfully, this is a live environment, so I can do it. And here it is. I'll just make sure this brand color makes sense. Again, live environment, so let's just try something. No, the original was way better. I think that deserves a comment. Color is perfect. And looks like we're ready to merge it. Let's ship it. Approve and merge. Okay, I can close the PR tabs and get back to my CSS challenge. See you later.
All right, I just got a notification that this pull request got merged from Tomek. And he even left some nice, I like this. He thinks the color is perfect. All right, and we shipped it. It's merged in. Awesome. You can see how simple and seamless that experience was for everyone involved here. And, this might seem, like a small example of this. And you might be wondering, okay, well, how much can you really do in this workflow? Like, how much can you actually run? Like, what's the delta between Codeflow and, what I'm running in my local environment? So let me go ahead and pull up my local VS Code here side by side with Codeflow. We can kind of take a look at it. One of the things that VS Code really pioneered was the IntelliSense and language services, where I can actually hover over things. It'll tell me, I can right click, go to definition, it'll drag into my node modules. We've got that stuff running on the StackBlitz side here too. Again, this is the desktop version of VS Code running over here. And this is actually using PNPM, just like what's going on over here. So if I actually scroll up, I'm in my node modules right now, going and debugging this end of things. Such a key part of the experience. And obviously we have the Git sidebar. We saw an example of that working before. Same deal on the Git side. But one thing in local is that you have a Git CLI. So I can actually type, Git status and actually see a result on my local VS Code. And Git doesn't normally come in a browser. So I'm going to have to, we need to make sure that it would work over here too. Turns out it does. We actually built a version of the Git CLI that runs entirely on top of web containers instantly in your browser. So you can do all the different Git commands that you normally want to do here. And one of the other key things that has made VS Code the most popular code editor in the world is the vibrant extensions ecosystem. You have all of your favorite extensions here. You can also, create different themes. I can flip between them and actually see them live here, right? And so over here, we've actually got the same thing, all your favorite extensions ready. And we can go ahead and switch the color theme around and actually take a look. And of course, key bindings are such an important part of what you do, in StackBlitz. So over in, native VS Code, you can go and, create a new file, Command N. You can close that file, Command W. Over in StackBlitz over here, Command N. Yeah, I guess it doesn't work. Actually, I'm just joking around. This is actually StackBlitz running as a PWA, because StackBlitz can do everything VS Code can do, because StackBlitz is literally VS Code and VS Code is literally StackBlitz. And so you can get access to your full key binding by just popping StackBlitz open into a PWA mode like this. This is not local VS Code. So you can kind of see here the delta is effectively zero between what you can do in StackBlitz versus your own local environment. It is your local environment inside of a browser tab and boots instantly. But being inside of a browser tab actually allows us to take the experience of using this even further beyond what you could ever even dream of doing on your own local. And so to demonstrate that, because we're in a browser, we're all web developers, I like using Chrome DevTools to debug my front end. And since we're running your entire full stack application here, your backend effectively, wouldn't it be great if you could actually use, Chrome DevTools to debug that live too? So let's go ahead and I'm going to run, the command node-mon-server.js, spin up this server. And you'll see I've got a backend server. I'm just spinning up here as the code entirely inside of my browser. And so if I want to debug, hey, what's that request object look like there? I can go ahead and just open up my Chrome DevTools on this page. That's all I have to do. And when I hit refresh, you'll see it actually comes straight in. You can see it there. And if I actually want to, step through this through a debugger, hit save, and this is actually, you can see this browser over here is hanging. I can actually see what all the different variables are set as. And when I'm ready, I can go ahead and just respond. So if I change this to say hello world instead of ViteConf and hit refresh, step through it, you'll notice it says hello world now, right? So this, an absolute dream to be able to use this sort of a debugging experience, because on local, being able to attach to Node, et cetera, requires a ton of setup. So for folks who are doing a lot of debugging in their workflows, this is just an absolute dream. And the people who tend to do the most debugging in their workflows are maintainers, open source maintainers, design system maintainers. And the reason being is they're creating libraries that thousands or millions of developers are using in their own projects. So maintainers tend to have the most bug reports, the most issues compared to any other developer in the world. And it's a huge hassle. A lot of projects actually require you to submit a StackBlitz link now for the instant reproduction, make sure it's a bug and not something else. But even if you verify it is a bug, the next step is you have to download that bug manually to your computer as you're fixing the bug in the actual code base, testing that against the repro. And that's a huge security threat vector because that repro has any bad code in it. So it's a total gnarly hairball. We've actually been working with the Vite core team to solve this entire problem and turn it into one click. So want to show you that now. I'm going to go ahead and pull up the ViteConf design system example repo we got here. And I got a handful of issues on it. And let me go ahead and I'll click on this first issue here. Garrison from our team says that there is a bug. He says that the button should say ViteConf, but it looks like the spelling isn't there. So you can see there's this reproduction. You've probably seen this on a lot of other repos. So I can go ahead and just open in a new tab and it'll boot this up and we'll be able to see if that's actually the case. It should say ViteConf and whatever button is, it says VTestConf. Interesting. Okay, so this actually is a bug. So how do I fix this? Well, the Codeflow app in your GitHub repo comes in to save the day again. It has instead this time a fix this issue button. And it also gave us all of the links that were in the comment up there. So I can, instead of having to search through the repro links here, I can actually get a one-click link here. But this fix this issue button is very magical when you click it. Because what it does, it's going to go ahead and actually start a new pull request for us. And it's going to mount in our repo on the main branch, the latest. But it's also going to mount the reproduction in a sibling folder right alongside it. It's booted up my design system. So I can actually see the issue over here. And so first of all, let's go ahead and let's fix this issue real quick. And let me find it. So, okay, that's the issue. It needs to say ViteConf. Maybe next year we'll throw a VTestConf, but that looks pretty good to me. And so this looks good now. But I want to make sure, I actually want to run this, in the project over here that was pulling in our component. If I go to the app.jsx, you can see it's actually pulling in from our ViteConf buttons npm package. So Codeflow actually allows you to specify overrides with the popular package managers, like with pnpm. It'll actually add an override automatically when it got pulled in, that it's going to point at our design system over here. So if I go ahead and I'm going to go up a folder, and I'm going to go to the StackBlitz reproductions folder and then the ViteConf button issue, all pnpmi, which is going to install the dependencies, including the ones that are local. And then I'm going to pnpm run dev. And it should open up another browser port here. And you can see this is the reproduction. You can actually see it says ViteConf. And this is from that user code. And again, this is all executing inside of the browser security sandbox. So this actually can't break out, grab your NPM credentials, etc. So you can actually securely, in one click, fix that issue. We think this is a huge game changer for open source maintainers. You can really imagine yourself flowing through your issues and pull requests, etc., without having to go to your local environment to do it. So we've designed Codeflow to be an amazing experience for repos that you own or maintain, but we've also designed Codeflow to be able to open up any repo that you want to contribute to, an open source project, for example, want to just search through a repo, etc. And the way you do it is with this simple little URL called PR.new. You can have PR.new in front of it, any GitHub URL, whether it's a pull request, a branch, it'll turn it magically into a live environment instantly inside of your browser. So to just quickly demonstrate this, let's pull up the Vue core repo. I've never pulled this down to my computer before, but I can just go ahead and put PR.new in front of this URL, and it's going to crack open that repo. It's going to clone it, install it. It knows what package manager to use, PNPM. It's booted up. Again, I don't know. I've never opened this repo before. So it's pretty amazing to the idea of opening up any open source repo, and that's how easy it is to get started now. In the getting started section, we should say, please use StackBlitz Codeflow because this is so much better. So if I want to push this back upstream, really simple process. Just hit fork. It knows I don't own the repo, and so it's created a fork of it in GitHub for me, and I can now just create a patch branch. And I'm going to go ahead and just commit my changes, made small change, and I'll commit and push. And I can just open up a new PR into Vue.js core from Eric Simons. You see that there. That's how easy it is to open up a pull request in this. But of course, I can also help the maintainers review their pull requests. So if I want to see what's going on, Evan, you and the team are pretty busy. Again, any GitHub URL, I can put PR.new in front of it. And by the way, you can also skip the slash and it'll still work, which I think is pretty cool. But I can actually go ahead and open up, again, the Vue core repo, boot it up, and actually is running the production tool chain here, down here. And I can actually see the delta of what has happened in this pull request, and I can help Evan, you review it, right? So for any GitHub URL magically turns it into this awesome experience that previously would have just been an unbelievable amount of work and time to get set up on your local machine. So I'm incredibly excited to announce that PR.new and everything you've seen about StackBlitz Codeflow here today is now available in public beta, and you can sign up for it over at stackblitz.com/Codeflow. For open source usage, it's 100% free to use and always will be. If you're looking to level up your team's productivity and completely eliminate context switching, you can head over to stackblitz.com/enterprise or shoot us an email at sales@stackblitz.com. We've actually been giving this to some of our enterprise customers the past couple of weeks, and they've been saying it's going to be a game changer for how they develop software. So we're really excited to get this in the hands of more folks to try it out. And this has been, a monumental effort. And I just want to give a huge shout out to our engineering team. Making this sort of thing work in a browser is a monumental challenge, and we've been working on it for 3 years now. And one of the fun and challenging things about working at StackBlitz is that we're often the first people to find bugs in browser engines, simply because we're pushing the absolute limits of what they can do. Recently, we actually found a bug in Apple Silicon that's causing web apps to run way slower than they should be on Apple devices. And so we're working right now with browser vendors to get that fixed. And for us, it's all in pursuit of this instant, seamless experience that makes development now such a joy to do. And also, it makes development something that you can now do collaboratively in the same way that Figma did for design. And on that note, I'm excited to share that recently Figma became a strategic investor in StackBlitz. My co-founder and I have been friends with Dylan for a little over 10 years now. And so we've been pretty inspired about what he and his team did bringing design to the browser. And we're excited to have them now be a part of our journey in bringing development to the browser in much the same way. So on that note, we are hiring. If you're interested in pushing the absolute limits of what browser engines can do or making development instant and seamless, head over to stackblitz.com/careers because we want to chat with you. We want to hear from you. And I hope to see all of you on stackblitz.com/Codeflow. And if you're into documentation and education, we actually do have one more thing for you. So I want to hand it over to Sylwia, who's going to give us the final update for the StackBlitz keynote.
Hi, everyone. My name is Sylwia Vargas, and I'm a developer advocate at StackBlitz. I spend a lot of time helping open source teams and companies make their documentation sites beautiful and interactive. StackBlitz is a popular choice. People use our JavaScript SDK to embed their projects on the documentation sites, blogs, and courses. Recently, Rich Harris talked about using our Web Container API to build the new SvelteKit tutorial. You may actually recognize the name Web Container API from a talk that Dan Jutan gave earlier today at ViteConf. If you haven't seen that talk, go check it out later. Our Web Container API is still in private alpha, but we are working to release it to public soon. Soon you will be able to build these magical experiences yourself. We actually did. We used our Web Container API to build something that I am going to show you today. So I am trying to say that at StackBlitz, we know how to handle documentation. We know how to help you build amazing educational experiences. As a dev community, however, there is one issue that we didn't quite have a solution for until recently, until now. I'm talking about editing docs, about editing your content. It is a little bit frustrating because if you are introducing any changes, you have to run local dev server to see how these changes manifest on your page. That means that you actually have to clone the repo and you have to run the dev server. And if you were doing any work before, now you have to stash those changes, just like Eric said before. It is a little bit frustrating. Let me show you what I mean. This is our docs page that I want to edit. To see any edits that I just introduced, I need to run local dev server. That means that I need to clone the repository, run dependencies. And if I worked on something right before that, I need to stash all those changes. Just like Eric said, it's really frustrating. It's draining. It's a lot. There should be an easier way. So there is a workaround, kind of. Most documentation pages have this button that says edit this page on GitHub. Here it is. I'm going to click on it, and I see a Markdown file. There's a preview. But the preview doesn't look anything like my site. It doesn't look anything like my site. It doesn't help me. Even if I introduce some changes, it still doesn't help me. This is a frustrating experience because I never know what I'm going to get. It is already draining for me as a developer, but what about the non-technical folks? What about your friendly designer colleague or supportive marketing friends? What about them? They also have to update documentation, blog posts, or wiki. Wouldn't it be nice to have a real publishing experience? So we thought about that, and now that we have Codeflow, and now that we have Web Container API, we actually could build something. Earlier today, Eric talked about PR.new. It is a handy URL that opens any repo. So maybe we could use it here. Let's try. Let's find that button again. All I need to do is to replace github.com with PR.new. And what's going to happen when I click on it? Can I click it? Yes, I can. And bam, Web Publisher, everyone. Web Publisher is a tool designed to make editing experience beautiful. You see there is a file, the Markdown file on the left, but there is also a real dev server running on the right. So let's see what happens if I write hello, hello. Oh, look at this. it updates in real time. Now you can see the changes you are introducing. Okay, so I wrote some changes. What's going to happen next? Well, I'm going to click on Propose Changes. And Web Publisher is going to do all the heavy lifting. It is going to commit, fork, and prepare a PR template. Now I can draft pull request and contribute to the docs. Oh, by the way, Web Publisher works with any framework. DocuSers, Next.js, SvelteKit, VitePress, it just works. But of course, we know that there's nothing like trying it yourself. So we build a page, ilovecodeflow.com, where you can go and experience it on your own. Go to ilovecodeflow.com and make a PR. Tell us what you think. Tell us why you think it's cool. Join others who really love Codeflow. On this page, you will also find all the necessary information to get you started and to integrate Codeflow into your workflow. I'm so excited for you to try it out. I've been using this tool for a few weeks now, and it's been magical. So let me know what you think on Twitter, on Discord, and yeah, enjoy. Thank you for listening.